Good evening. This is H&N. The Holotable News Network is your not even remotely close to around the clock Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes news, reviews, reactions, theory crafting, and more source. I am CeliacSarah, who's very sick, and one of your hosts. And I'm joined by Pico Burrito, my co-host. How are you?
I'm great. I feel terrible for you. I mean, it sounds rough.
It's
Uh
it's not fun.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
I felt fine on Monday. I was like, oh, I'm getting sick, and then Tuesday I was like, oh, I sound sick.
yeah. Um if it helps, I currently live on Hoth. We had a snow day today. We got enough snow dumped on us that they canceled schools. So, it's a frozen tundra outside of the place. Although you're probably dealing with that as well, but
Yeah, we
it's
got a
it's miserable.
snowstorm. We got a snowstorm today, so it's fine.
I was shoveling with short sleeves on, so I'm probably going to be there tomorrow.
um, all right, but we have a ton to talk about.
A lot. A lot.
I just realized we haven't done the show since Trench was announced because he was last week they announced him,
He
right?
was
Yeah.
he was last week. So yeah, so we've got a double character release.
Yeah.
Um, we'll talk a little bit about the Treya Omnicron, although I think the build up to what was going to happen was probably a lot worse than I think what they delivered on.
Yeah.
But of course, I've been told that my take is wrong. I think already once, but that's fine. And we actually do have a couple of content updates with some interesting bug fixes, specifically in some things in territory battles that have been causing us some pain for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a couple of bug fixes today as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, big kit coming in. So
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
well, let's start. We're kicking off a new section of the show.
Yes.
And we are calling this the biggest problem in the universe is that no one helps each other. It's
Mm-hmm.
a line from the Phantom Menace is said by Jake Lloyd or Anakin Skywalker. But this is where we're going to do the HNN for good updates. So where we're sitting right now is we're pushing in towards the end of our first month campaign,
Mm-hmm.
tracking at $62 for the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. And this is it's funny. It's a conversation my boss and I have been having about some things we're trying to change at work and kind of change some mindsets. $62 doesn't sound like a lot,
Right.
but I think it's important to remember this is $62 more than what we did last month. And
Totally.
these are small steps, and they're small steps. And as long as again, this is something we're doing a little, we're trying to do a little different. So we're pushing up towards the end of the month. We're starting a little bit of the conversation around where we want to go into February. I
Mm-hmm.
think we got a couple of two really good options on the table. The first is the MS Society of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I think that came from Mole Pokey with a suggestion like, hey, maybe we could find something that was focused in Canada, which I am all on board for it. I think the MS related research is phenomenal. We also talked a little bit about Covenant House, which is a charity that I've actually been involved with in the past, where they're trying to help kids who are homeless get off the streets.
Mm-hmm.
They do a really interesting event around they call the Sleep Out,
Yeah.
where they actually put people and you sleep outside. I don't know if that's something they do up in Canada.
They do.
Yeah, it's a great charity. So again, if you have suggestions, let's get them on Discord. We'll start talking through that in February and figuring out where we're gonna go. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, this is exciting. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. So
yeah.
sweet. Okay. Do we want to read a kit?
Let's read kits. Let's start with let's do them in chronological order. So we'll start with Trench, who is our Conquest character.
Yeah.
Folks, you're gonna get a lot of me tonight because we're just gonna try and be nice to Sarah's voice.
Yeah.
Um,
And if I cough and forget to mute myself, I'm gonna apologize in advance.
we are not professional radio people.
Mm-mm.
It's so amateur moves are going to be completely expected and welcomed. So, Admiral Trench, as a surprise to no one, based off of the bug that was introduced into the game where his kit became inactive, Admiral Trench, who is a dark side leader, support, and separatist. Now you've seen his kit, right?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Okay.
I realized today when I was like looking at what we were going to talk about, I was like, oh my god, I haven't even read this. So
So
here we
this
are.
will be, yeah, this will be interesting because I haven't really read it either. It was one of those I started looking at it and I'm like, it's 3 months away. So I don't know the things going on that week. So highlights tactical separatist leader with deep synergy, tech and extortion synergy. So he's really designed to work well with Newt and Wat Tambor. Outwits and outspeeds foes with buff and debuffs mechanics. And he has a territorial war Omnicron that we'll talk about. But the idea here is he's really designed to go with named separatists who are not bugs or droids.
Right.
And I think that we're going to see additional separatists kind of come along with this because I think there's some weird pieces in his kit, but we'll see where that comes in. So let's jump into this. So his basic is called Unfinished Business. And what's interesting about this is the first basic that we have with an Omnicron on it. So this is coming in on the basic. We're going to see 3 Omnicrons in the kit. Deal special damage to target enemy and shock them for 2 turns. If the target was already shocked, stun them for 1 turn. During Trench's turn, allies with tactical supremacy gain a heal over time and protection over time, 10% for 2 turns. And while in territory wars, during Trench's turn, inflict ability block on target enemy for 1 turn, which can't be dispelled or resisted, and reduce their critical damage by 20% stacking until the end of the encounter. If the target enemy was already debuffed, remove 50% turn meter from them.
Oh.
Ability block and TM removal on basic. That's ugly. And non-droid separatist allies recover 30% health and protection. And we are gonna see a lot of like the clarifications on those pieces. So that's a basic.
That's a good Omicron. Sounds like a good Omicron.
That is. Again, ability block on basic is pretty nasty. And you land 5 basics on something like, I don't know, beating on a Galactic Legend, and all of a sudden the critical damage is below, basically pushing to 0 in a lot of those cases. So, yeah. All right. Special 1, which is net positive, and this is just a Zeta. So he sticks his hand out, he does his best Spider-Man impersonation and shoots the net out. Final text, dispel buffs, deal special damage to target enemy, inflict stagger for 2 turns, and call all other non-droid separatist allies to assist. So lots of fun stuff's going to happen in that case, including a shot from Dooku. Non-droid separatist allies gain tactical supremacy for 2 turns, which can't be copied. Trench gains protection up for 40% for 2 turns, and all other separatist allies gain protection up for 20% for 2 turns. And then tactical supremacy is 30% critical damage and potency, recover 10% protection at the start of the turn. If dispelled, recover 40% health, and then gain advantage and foresight for 2 turns at the end of that turn.
Wow.
And everyone gets that.
Wow.
We're gonna see. It's gonna get nutty how they solve the problem with this team. That I remember seeing this on the leader side. So now we get into the leader, Fear Tactician, and Zeta and Omnicron. And I will warn you, there's a lot here. This like starts to rival some of the Jedi Revan stuff. But final text: separatist allies have 30% max health, max protection, and potency, and they have 10% speed, excludes Galactic Legend allies, for each ally with tech and each enemy with extortion.
Interesting.
So whenever a separatist ally inflicts a debuff on an enemy, they gain 20% offense for 3 turns, stacking limit once per turn. While a separatist ally has a tech, they have 100% potency. when a non-Geonosian separatist ally gains Bactoid shield generator tech, they dispel stealth from themselves, and while they have Bactoid shield generator tech, they are immune to stealth and gain 100% critical avoidance in defense.
Okay.
So I feel like we need to stop for a second on that one.
Yes.
So the point to that is Bactoid shield generator, which is the tank tech,
Yes.
goes on Django.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because Django starts in damage immunity.
Yes.
So the idea is that if the previous one where everyone else kind of gets foresight,
mm-hmm.
Django goes into damage immunity. You put tank tech on him, which forces he's going to get that piece. And then we'll see the next piece that comes up where they're going to start. Well, and yeah, they're immune to stealth. There's a stealth mechanic coming in where everyone else is going to kind of disappear. So instead of worrying about how do I get a tank with taunt on this team,
mm-hmm.
they're just going to make you beat on the damage immune character for a period of time.
And he's now the new tank, so to speak.
Yeah. While separatist allies have a heal over time, they gain 30% critical counter chance. While they have protection over time, they have 30% defense penetration. While an enemy has burning, they can't assist, counterattack, or gain bonus turn meter. That's ugly.
Which is handy for Django being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when he's going to get 100% potency on top of everything else that's in there. While in territory wars, non-droid separatist allies have 50% mastery, 75% max health and max protection. Separatist allies with tech can't have their turn meter reduced, and enemies with extortion will be critically hit if able.
Oh.
So, yeah. And it's still not done for the territory wars. Whenever an enemy dispels a debuff, separatist allies gain 10% turn meter, limit once per turn. The first time each enemy is reduced below 100% health, excluding summons, separatist allies gain 20% offense stacking and 5 speed stacking until the end of the battle.
Oh.
Yeah.
The first time each enemy, so all of the allies. So you could do that 5 times, so 25 speed.
Another 25 speed. Plus,
at 100%. Oh, okay.
And also don't forget that separatist allies have 30% max health, max protection, and potency, and they have 10% speed for each ally with tech and each enemy with extortion. So by the time Watt gets out tech to 3 characters, that's plus 30 speed right there. 30% speed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Watt goes first. Everyone gets 10% more speed coming out of that. So that'll be up to 30% speed, and then the additional plus speed pieces. So that's pretty crazy.
That's insane. That sounds like a fantastic leadership.
Yes. Yeah. I have a feeling this is going to be probably one of those territory war Omnicrons that people are going to want. So unique 1, I smell fear and it smells good, which is a Zeta in an Omnicron. At the start of battle, Admiral Trench loses 50% max health and gains that much protection. While Trench is active, separatist allies have 50% potency. At the start of his turn, he gains protection over time 10% for 2 turns. While Trench has protection up, he is immune to buff immunity and healing immunity. So good luck. At the first time each enemy loses all protection, at the end of that turn, they are feared for 1 turn, which can't be dispelled, evaded, or resisted. Whenever another non-droid separatist ally is damaged by an attack, defeated, or evades, Trench has a 50% chance to gain 100% turn meter, limit once per turn.
So, sorry. If you have, let's just say arguably Dooku, for example.
Yep.
He gets hit, you gain 100% turn meter.
It's a coin flip if you're going to get it, but
right.
Yeah.
But like you could theoretically hit him a bunch of times. And
yes.
Feed, like if the RNG was perfect, Trench could just keep going.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay.
It's those chains where like Greedo shoots
Yeah.
9 or 10 times in a row. Yeah. And limit once per turn. So if it's an AE attack, you're only going to get one chance
Right.
to get the 100%. So
But it's not once per character.
correct.
So,
Correct.
oh man,
It
that's
and
rough.
that is not on the Omnicron.
Right. Right.
That
That's
that's
just
just
there.
there. Now the interesting piece to that is because Django's going to have damage immunity.
Right.
Everyone else is going to be in Viz. If you're attacking and you're just using single targets,
Mhm.
Trench won't get a chance to get the turn meter up. It won't be until you can actually hit someone else with something, um, which means you're basically just doing basics
Yeah.
on someone to not do anything.
Right. So that you don't feed
Yep.
potentially turn meter.
Yeah. Um, while in territory wars, whenever an enemy resists a debuff from a separatist ally, they lose 10% tenacity stacking and 10% critical damage stacking for 3 turns.
Yes.
The first time Trench's health is reduced below 75%, he recovers 100% health and gains foresight, protection up 50%, and tenacity up for 2 turns. While a separatist ally has a heal over time, health recovery on them is increased by 15%.
Oh,
While a separatist ally has protection over time, protection recovery on them is increased by 15%.
wow.
Uh, and allies with tactical supremacy have an additional 25 speed.
On top of like all the bonus speed you're getting.
Correct. And then they say it down here again. Tactical supremacy is 30% critical damage and potency, recover 10% at the start of turn. And if dispelled, they recover 40% health and gain foresight and advantage for 2 turns. So that
Wow.
that's 30% speed is so if you can get him up to 300 speed,
Yeah. Just,
that means Watt goes. If you can get anyone on that team to 300 speed, we'll just even use it at that. Watt takes the first turn, and that character is now 330 speed.
right.
Then it comes back to Watt if you make him super fast.
Right.
They're now 360 plus the other 25, which makes it actually 385, which means you're outrunning just about everything at that point.
Yeah. So,
So,
oh man. So you have him on the team.
yep,
Django, Newt, and Watt seem like
yep.
obvious ones. And then I guess Dooku.
Dooku and Asajj are the other two that they're suggesting right now.
Right. For now.
For now, well, and actually, so I think that there's 5 of them there, so it's likely Asajj probably falls off, or Newt. Well, no, because there's an extortion mechanic, so you probably want Newt there.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like if you, as of right now, you would need Newt and Watt.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Django seems like he's supposed to go there for right now.
He's got to be there for right now. There was a lot of discussion when it first came out. So what he's breaking up a lot of marriages.
Yeah.
I mean that's really what he's doing. The C Watt thing. I think people are going to try and figure out what the situation there is, and I think there's a lot of people expect maybe projecting a little bit of does C finally get a lifter unit, but at least in territory wars, Watt's going to probably break away from C in that case.
Yeah.
Newt breaking away from Grievous may or may not be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I still think I think what it might force is some people to maybe actually look at putting some resources into Droideka.
Yeah, I think that is what is going to happen.
Yeah. But again, that's kind of they've got this thing where they're trying to get people also to kind of bring up characters that have sat on the background a little bit
Mm-hmm.
as part of those. depending on how you run counters, Asajj is probably going to be free.
Yeah.
Because part of the Night Sisters break up and go that other direction. Although she's got a Grand Arena Omnicron that I think would come into play here as well.
I can't remember what her Omicron does.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, because I think that's the biggest thing is people don't like to break up squads.
Yeah.
So
Asajj's her Omnicron is Night Sister allies. Oh, this already looks like it's not going to be that great. So Night Sister allies gain 30% max health, potency, and tenacity. When an ally or enemy is defeated, all Night Sister allies gain 10% turn meter, recover protection, and the cooldown of Endless Wrath is reset. And then when Asajj uses Endless Wrath, inflict healing immunity, which could be good, and reduces defense and max health by 4% for the rest of the encounter. But all of those other pieces specific to Night Sisters, that wouldn't even impact Asajj because she's not an ally. She's herself in that case. So
right.
It's hit or miss whether it would be good or not. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting kit. I think what's your impression of the Conquest characters at this point, outside of Cat?
Outside of Cat, I have liked all of them. Even like characters that people are like, oh, they're like Dad Bod Boba. I'm like, nah, he's good.
I think I somewhat disagree. Mm-hmm. I think they've all been a bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Because I think they came out and we put them all at the, like, oh, this looks amazing, and then we get them out and they're just like, yes, what Dad Bod Boba does in Territory Wars is great.
Mm-hmm.
He's average at best in the other game modes. Malgus is good.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he was the be-all end-all that everyone kind of expected him to be, especially now that he doesn't have a Datacron, or there's ways to handle the Datacrons that he can get access to.
I'm curious if this is a Conquest problem or an Omicron problem.
Yeah.
Because Cat and Maul are the only ones that didn't have Omicrons or don't have Omicrons in general.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones all do.
Yeah. I'm really down on Ben Solo.
Oh man, I love it.
It feels like it's a lot of words to say, we're just gonna make it hard for you to kill Rey.
Right.
It doesn't feel like he does all the damage that he promised. Because I'm guessing his multipliers are low. The healing immunity screws up the C counter.
Mm-hmm.
But Trench is gonna do more to actually breaking that C counter for Rey than I think anything that Ben will have ever done.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I think they've knocked it out of the park with the Conquest ships.
Yeah.
I think that they have been true shifters. But I think I'm still, they're great. They're probably A tier characters. They're not S tier characters, which I've never understood why S is the top of the list whenever we rank things. And I have zero interest in trying to figure it out. But so that's the Admiral. Looking at the Q&A, I don't see much. The one piece that they call out, Trench's lead does not cause extortion to spread the way that Newt's does.
Right.
So they also said the 20% offense for 3 turns is once per turn. So in the case of like Dooku, where he attacks 3 times, it's only going to get it for one of his attacks.
Right.
So they get fear like Admiral Piet and Revan. It was asked in that case.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question about non-galactic legend separatist. Is there a separatist galactic legend on the way? With the separatist tank for shield tech that is not a geo or a droid, that was the other piece of that. Lots of kit language, has built-in future proofing, and may or may not have anything to do with our near-term plans. the language was there to built in for future proofing of the kit. That's really what it was there to
Right.
prevent unintended consequences.
Right.
As we will
Because
see with Treya, we have unintended consequences.
right. So it prevents them from having to go back and change anything.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, and the other one, and again, I think this is important because it's additive and multiplicative is an interesting one. With Trench's unique, it says health and protection recovery are increased by 15%. For example, a tactical supremacy, would that make protection recovery 11.5% or 25%? Basically additive or multiplicative, and this is additive. So in this example, the result would be 11.5%. And I think this is supposed to say health and protection recovery are increased by, well, so 15, yeah, so 15% of 10% would be adding 1.5%.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah. They say that to challenge, it's to designed to raise them to a point where it can challenge some galactic legends. Let's not over rotate on that statement that he should be able to take out Jabba the second that he's released.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
And tactical supremacy can be dispelled. They talked about in the kit that some great things happen when it's dispelled. You get a bunch of bonuses for it. And that's really about it. It will not change the trench in the current version of Lord Vader journey, so you will have to beat this one.
That's good to know.
Yep. And I think that's about it. There were actually a ton of questions, but they all seemed.
Yeah, there are tons of questions. Holy.
Yeah, I do like the question that someone asked for clarification. Is it 10 speed or 10% speed, assuming that CG put a typo in the kit?
Right.
And meatheads were, 10%. I know, crazy, huh? So yeah. So that's Trench, and we'll see him in 3 months.
So the only other thing I wanted to point out that I thought was interesting, and I posted this in our guild server and in the H&N server, but I get the newsletter emails from CG now, which I didn't even realize I had opted into them, but apparently I have, and I read them, so whatever. I guess you're welcome. But the one that came out, I guess it was last week, whatever, right after they announced Trench, had Trench in there in a banner that he was coming soon to the game, and it said, "Prepare for the uprising of separatists," or something about a separatist uprising, essentially. So I'm curious. I'm basically going to be paying extra attention to see if we get any other separatist goodies, because I feel like that was a little bit of a tease.
And there was a question in the Q&A, and I just didn't run across it, about a capital ship, because Trench had a capital ship. Again, I think we need some other pieces to make that happen, but and I think it's funny. I think they talked about this on Gambit. I'm going to actually reference Gambit a couple of times because there were some really great things that they talked about in the last episode. But I think Solo pointed out that they've fallen into this nice little pattern with their release cadences, and there's some interesting things that are starting to line up with the way that it was last year. That Conquest dropped about this time, and we got a ship.
Yep.
At the same time, the second sister released at this point, which kind of launched into the longer term piece around the Grand Inquisitor, and we get this comment that prepare for the rise of the Separatists. So is this like the first step,
right,
kind of into getting into that path? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. 3 months is a long time, although we'll talk about this, I think, a little bit later. Man, April's going to be rough.
Oh, it's going to be so rough.
So the point for folks trying to figure out why April, that's about the same time that I think a lot of guilds that are going to be unlocking Reva. So it's probably 2 R7 minimum, if not up to the Reva case, maybe up to R9 in those cases, and it is going to be a resource bonanza for a lot of people in that time frame.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. Actually, now I have questions about that. We can get into that later.
Yep.
Okay, so that's Trench.
That's Trench. So
Whew.
let's jump into the announcement for this week. Not what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do want to say before we get into this,
Yes.
so this is more of maybe a public service announcement, maybe a request out of the community. One data point does not equal a trend.
Right. Correct.
Two is a line. 3 is a trend.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, Zori dropped and everyone assumed that we were going to get a flood of resistance characters, and Trench dropped and everyone assumed that we were going to get all of these separatists coming on the backside of them. We're going to talk about this next ship. Until we get a couple of things on a theme,
Mm-hmm.
they're just releasing stuff, folks. It's just kind of the way that it works.
Totally.
So yeah, let's jump into the newest announcement. I opened up the same link twice, so give me 1 second here. There we go. We got a release of the TIE Defender.
Yeah.
I expected this year.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
Because a little bit of lore, and I know that the TIE Defender has been in a bunch of different places in the Star Wars universe. But in Rebels, Thrawn brought the TIE Defender into existence. It was his project.
Right.
And with the Thrawn show coming up this year, I assumed we were going to get the Defender as part of that. It was going to be tied into the show somehow in that way. The timing of this was interesting. Fun fact, I was actually in a meeting with a customer when this dropped yesterday, pretending to pay attention while I was trying to scroll through and read the kit without having flashing images of attacks happen on the screen. So
in person.
Yeah.
That just makes it even better.
So the TIE Defender, piloted by Iden Versio, which again,
sorry, I just want to point out she was the first Marquis last year.
Yes.
And Zori was the first Marquis this year.
Yes.
So maybe we'll just bookmark that.
Yeah, maybe we don't get Zori's ship for another 12 months, and a lot of people. Which, by the way, the UTH episode last week was phenomenal. You guys talking about that, kind of going back and reviewing that, and looking everything forward. So maybe that can make it into your asks next year if we don't get it. Is when do I get Zori's ship? But the TIE Defender, so it's a dark side attacker empire piloted by Iden Versio. Strong firepower brings a much needed punch to the Executrix fleets. Incredible support reinforcement ability makes it an ideal reserve ship for Executrix fleets. The synergies are Tarkin's ship, because I'm just not going to try and say I'm done with it. Tarkin's ship, Imperial TIE Fighter, TIE Reaper, Gauntlet Starfighter, and the Scythe. And I'm going to complain about this in a little bit. So because I got issues.
Okay.
All right. So just a little bit of inspiration. I've got a friend of mine who plays, who was really excited about the ship because he used to play it as part of the TIE Fighter game. I never played that when I was a kid. So he was excited from that side. I know there's some folks that are kind of tied to the Thrawn piece. It's been in Legends, so it's been around forever. Yes, this was not Iden's ship in Battlefront.
Okay.
But they did say in the notes, Iden flies a TIE Fighter. We're just not going to keep releasing TIE Fighters with different paint jobs on them, is really what it came down to. They wanted to get her in a ship. So, yeah.
I mean, fair.
Yes. And as we will see in the kit, the strategy is pretty simple. Use your basic. That's what we're really going to kind of see as part of this. So, and why they did ask, why is the TIE Defender counting as a TIE Fighter? And we wanted the TIE Defender to work well with the rest of Tarkin's fleet. That's their reasoning for it. So we'll see a couple of interesting things here. So I skimmed it. I didn't get all the way through it, but it does look pretty interesting. So abilities: basic, wingtip, LS 9.3 laser cannons. Final text: deal physical damage 3 times. For each critical hit scored, grant the TIE Defender a stack of resilient defense, max 2. If the TIE Defender has special forces, this attack has 50% critical chance and critical damage. So this, while it is not a tank, it is an attacker.
Mm-hmm.
Much like Mace, it will have a built-in taunt mechanic coming into it, but if you're actually attacking is kind of where it comes down to. So you're going to want to get resilience defense on it. I complained to you in messages that I'm like, we needed a tank, we didn't get it because I did Control F taunt and did not see taunt, and then literally read the first line. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's where it is. So there is a taunt mechanic based off of resilient defense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Special 1, CLL3 ion torpedoes, which is a 4-turn cooldown. Deal physical damage to target enemy, reduce their turn meter by 30%, and stun them for 1 turn.
Nice.
If TIE Defender has special forces, this stun cannot be dispelled, evaded, or resisted. Unresistible stun in ships.
Yikes.
Yes, please, and thank you.
Yikes.
So, Unique 1, P-S7 9.7 twin ion engines. So where we got cool name for Trench, we're just basically getting things out of a data sheet for the TIE Defender.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we get some like easier to say ability names?
Whenever the TIE Defender evades an attack, grants 10% turn meter to the allied capital ship, an additional 10% turn meter if the TIE Defender has special forces. This effect is tripled for Empire capital ships.
Ooh.
So evade an attack, and Tarkin gets 30% turn meter. While TIE Defender has special forces, whenever it evades an attack with Foresight, gain critical chance up for 2 turns and dispel all debuffs on TIE Defender. The TIE Defender counts as a TIE fighter.
Okay.
So
good.
Why that matters is some of the mechanics in the Scythe kit target TIE fighters.
Yeah.
So he's going to get all those cool buffs and everything else. So Unique 2, TIE /X7, TIE divided by X7. I was told there would be no math on this exam. Final text.
Multiplied. Sorry.
Please, my dear Aunt Sally. I don't know where that sits in there. So, final text. TIE Defender gains 10% evasion, 20% offense, 30% max protection. Whenever TIE Defender gains resilient defense, recover 10% protection. At the start of each turn, if the TIE Defender has special forces and resilient defense, it gains Foresight for 1 turn. When TIE Defender evades, if it has special forces, recover 10% health and gain 10% turn meter. So this is crazy.
Yeah.
Because, all right, if he has special forces and resilient defense, he gets Foresight, which means he's taunting.
But you can't hit him.
And that means then Tarkin gets 30% turn meter.
Right.
And short of breach, there is no mechanic in ships that allow you to ignore taunt.
Right. So you have to hit the ship.
Yes.
But not hit it.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that's fun. Reinforcement. We weren't expecting special forces, which is a line from Battlefront when Iden shows up in the game. Imperial TIE Fighter allies gain Foresight for 1 turn. So he comes in and everybody gets Foresight.
Okay.
Ally Empire ships gain 1 stack of formation, max of 30 until the end of battle or until TIE Defender is defeated and can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Imperial TIE Fighter allies instead gain a stack of formation equal to the number of ally Imperial TIE Fighters. The TIE Defender gains special forces until the end of battle. So, and then special forces gives abilities based on the effect. So if you bring him in as a reinforcement, he gets special forces, and then all of that other stuff kicks in for the rest of the fight. So
you want this as a reinforcement?
Absolutely. And where they said, I think the biggest takeaway, there's like I'm wondering if this isn't going to be like the Millennium Falcon, where like there are unique abilities and you use wiggle and you use basic and that's it.
Right.
So, um, so that's the Defender. I think it's a cool looking ship. It's got some really cool animations. Um, Here's my complaint,
Okay.
and I'm gonna preface this with I ask people to be patient, and I'm not being patient. So,
Okay.
so they're trying to break the fleet up into a Chimera fleet that looks to be built around Vader and Palpatine's shuttle and the TIE Interceptor,
Mm-hmm.
and thought there was one other, but I think we need a couple of other pieces to come on that side. And they said in the notes, they're like, we're really happy with the Chimera and TIE Interceptor kind of build and how that works. And the TIE Bomber would go on the
Right.
would go with the Vader side as well. But the problem here is the TIE Interceptor counter works when you need the TIE Fighter there so that he gets foresight right off the bat. They miss him,
Mm-hmm.
and then the TIE Interceptor comes in like immediately after that.
Right.
But if I'm supposed to put the TIE Fighter with Tarkin, that whole mechanic is gone. And so now I've got to wait another turn, or I've got to wait longer to get the TIE Interceptor out, and it slows everything down. For anyone who's played around with the Scythe as a counter to the Radis, it only works because you're essentially buying yourself enough time to bring in the TIE Bomber to apply burning to everyone and stop the train.
Okay.
So I'm supposed to put the bomber with Chimera, I'm supposed to put the TIE Fighter with Tarkin, and it literally breaks how those fleets, the Scythe counter works and how the Chimera counter works on the other side. So it feels like something's missing, or we're just not supposed to really have multiple ships, is kind of the way that yeah.
That's a good point.
I don't know. So I'm not sure. We'll see how I think the ship looks fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it's going to shake out at this point.
Yeah. I'm curious if we will get more.
Yeah.
Or what the deal will be.
But I'm wondering if we're going to start running out of Empire ships real quick.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you've got... if you have Chimera and Tarkin as your capital ships, right?
Yep.
Even Chimera right now, like, sometimes you take Sith Bomber, and that's filling a gap.
In which you could do that, because if you put him out there with Vader and Palpatine, he's going to get taunt right off the bat. Like the Sith Bomber is going to get taunt right off the bat because they're both Sith. If you attack either one of them, it goes over in his direction.
Mm-hmm.
The other thought that I had, there was the rumor about a year ago that we were going to get the Ravager capital ship.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all those Sith ships start to kind of not have a home.
Right.
So but again, then what do we do with Thrawn? Like, are we really gonna bench a legendary ship?
Right. And also, like, it's a ship that he gets his ultimate and you pick a ship that you want to destroy right away.
Like, absolutely.
It's not like you're benching Mace here. Like,
yeah. So a couple of things from the notes or the Q&A. Special Forces cannot, it's a blue status effect, so it's not a buff or debuff, it can't be removed. They asked, why is the TIE Defender an attacker? Because it's an attacker that they just wanted to find a way to taunt with.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 4-star unlock, and it's going to be a Galactic Chase.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a really long Galactic Chase.
Yeah, it's like a week.
Yeah, so it starts on Friday and it runs through the following Thursday.
Yeah.
So fleet nodes, So stack up on it, get some fleet shards in as part of that training piece. They asked a question about, again, why the Iden on the Defender, and basically it's reasons we wanted to do it. Why is all the good stuff locked in a reinforcement? Because we want to do it, is the short version of that. Is Crumb puzzling again? I don't get this, but 45 King, the real questions now. Yeah, whatever. There was a great question. I thought this was a great question because I think they address something in this answer that we've been asking for a while, and it's why not make it an unmanned vessel?
Okay, right.
And it said, while we love crewless ships, we want to make sure that they stay relevant as the relic levels of pilots increase over where they were when we added crewless to the game. We have some ideas for solution for crewless, but we are not ready to implement yet. So
I'm glad they said that.
Yeah, we all saw this was going to be a problem way back when.
Yeah.
They see it. They're just not ready to touch it yet.
Yeah.
Probably when Relic 10 comes around. So would be a guess. I don't know. Does the max 2 for resilient defense apply to the amount she can have on her maximum, or the maximum that she can gain in a single use? She can have 2 stacks of resilient defense total. So basically, hit her twice, it goes away. But she can get 2 stacks in a single use of her basics. So just got to get her to attack as many times as possibly can. Yeah, that's going to be the trick. So
Ryan and Vaughn just pointed out the answer to that Crumb thing is he was saying asking the real questions now.
Oh yeah, I don't speak lead. Sorry.
Can you just type in this reminds me of, I went to have like brunch a couple weeks ago, and this guy just kept showing me his laptop project thing that he was, and I was like, please just let me eat my food.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, no one is touching my project. And I like skimmed it, and it was because it was typed like this. And I was like, because no one can take you seriously.
Yeah.
If you don't type in like proper grammar and diction. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah. By the way, I have never felt so old as I did right then when all these people pointed out, like, no, guy, that's lead speak. Like, do you speak old? Like that's what I think I was just asked, is do I speak old? Because I'm now just an old man who doesn't understand things.
Man.
Yay for me.
No. I didn't get it either. So don't worry. Oh man. Okay. So we get a ship and we get a Conquest character.
We get a ship and a Conquest character. But that's not it. So we got a couple of updates. Let's take a look at the content update for 118. Again, this was the release of Trench. So the BT haywire was minor. Resolved an issue where Han's Millennium Falcon could sometimes be targeted while outmaneuver was active, and there were still active allies. I have never seen that, although I'm not sure I've ever tried to target outmaneuver when it was there. Fixed an issue where the coaxum buff wasn't persistent through encounters on Corellia. I don't know what that buff does. It just disappears. Sometimes it comes back.
Yep.
I know once a TIE pilot nuked my team from orbit with it. So I just kill them as soon as it shows up. They fixed the IPD duplicate summoning issue.
Thank you.
Big win. We were all very happy about that. And I think that was there was a minor thing. A Supreme Leader Kylo Ren could be inflicted with bleed from the Nexu while he was immune to debuffs. Frankly, if you've got Kylo in that mission and he's in ultimate stance, the Nexu's dead. He just doesn't know what's going to happen yet. Is kind of how that tracks down.
Exactly.
So
they did not fix that lovely Patreon bug that we get when we go look at the stats.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is really irritating.
I noticed that tonight. So that was not fixed. We got a couple of other bug fixes today as well. An AI with profundity that caused it to target the wrong ships. No idea what that means, but that could not be, that might be good or bad. We don't know. Something about the Star Fortress and Galactic Challenges. I don't think anyone wants to talk about ships and Galactic
No.
Challenges right now. It
No.
is a very bad topic.
Terrible topic.
Fixed an issue where Sunfact's ship wasn't counting taunts. I thought that was something that came up a couple of months ago.
I feel like a lot of these bugs they like fix and then they somehow
Yeah, yeah,
resurface again.
yeah. Um, this one, so the BT1 getting a little too enthusiastic about
Mm-hmm.
pain on his allies. This actually almost cost me a wave in territory battles. So it when you start playing with the Afro team, you'll notice like you have to get comfortable being in the yellow
Okay.
because they're kind of designed to take a lot of damage, do a lot of damage, but she can bring them back. And he walked out and spun around, and 3 of my characters fell over, and I puckered. I mean, there is no other way to describe it. So I'm glad to hear that earlier on when it happened, it was more like you lost maybe a couple of pips of health, and it was kind of funny that it happened. Like this was like, oh, that was bad. Like I'm glad that they're addressing it. Now the next 3 are somewhat related. We have to talk about this. So Darth Treya fixed an issue where critical damage wasn't being properly added. All right, not such a big deal. Treya unique Omicron now properly caps at 100% instead of 500%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting.
That is a huge gap there.
That's a huge gap. And they also announced that they will be refunding
Mm-hmm.
anyone who picked up a Darth Treya Omicron
Mm-hmm.
because of the unintended interaction with Lord Vader.
Yes.
I have not read the Omicron in game. So they're not going to refund anything until next week.
Which is so stupid. They should have just
Yeah.
refunded it today.
Which what it's going to mean is they're going to refund it in the middle of
Grand Arena.
or in the middle of Grand Arena.
Yeah. So
yeah.
you will now lock into Grand Arena with the Omicron still applied.
Yep.
But it will have been changed.
Yeah. Yeah. I did not read in game, but my understanding, I saw a screenshot. Mm-hmm. The only real change to her Omnicron is now the white text says, while in Grand Arena, and no dark side galactic legends are present.
Correct.
So it's not no galactic legends to kick off her Omnicron. It's the Omnicron functions the same. Is basically as long as Lord Vader isn't there.
Right.
That's what they've decided
on. Which, so like if you like that bug post whatever has a link to say like, hey, go read about her refund here. That link doesn't include what they changed. It just says our intention was wrong, blah blah blah, like etc.
Yep.
I personally think, because I was one of the ones who skipped over this at first when I was looking at it, I was like, I don't see a GL clause. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
You need to post what the change is. Post the old text and then post the new text and highlight the difference or something, because it's so easy to skim over that white bit because you know her Omicron already is GAC. You just skim straight to it and read what's changed, but you don't see anything that's changed.
Well, and I think that was what a lot of people took, is that they weren't going to actually change anything about her Omnicron. It was, we had a bug in her kit. Like the scalar was too high. It was 5% instead of 100%.
Mm-hmm.
What my question about that is, if it's capped at 100%, is that enough of a change that it really didn't warrant removing the Vader clause?
Right.
And we'll never really know. I take it back. I guess we'll probably know because people will get a chance to play around and test with it. I'll be honest. I think it's a non-issue.
Yeah, I think you needed, if you were going to refund this Omicron, you needed to make a change that was targeted like that to justify refunding it.
Yep. and I know I've seen some people comment like, well, yeah, they gave me back my Omnicrons, but what about all the mats that I put on my character, taking them, taking them? Like that's the game.
There,
I mean, I'll be honest. The Sith is a great team, regardless of what you do, and I know that I can do things at gear 12 that I didn't need it there. But the game's moving to relics.
there,
Just yeah.
they're a good team to have in, like, to the point that I genuinely don't know what to do next right now, because they are a team that I'm like, do
Yeah.
I give you relics? You're sitting at
Yep.
gear 12. What do I do?
So I don't know what I'll do when they refund it. I haven't decided if I'm going to put it back on her or not. I tried it a couple of times against in 5v5. I tried it a couple times against Malgus. It did not work for me. Like
Okay.
now I think I know what I was doing wrong. I think I've seen a couple of pieces where you've got to get, I think it's, you got to get Nihilus to do his no, I got to go back and take a look at it. There's a video somewhere where someone was talking about, but you basically you need to take a step to get Treya so that they don't get feared, and kind of kills all of their action economy where it's part of that. But we're getting new teams, and I think the ability to punch up kind of works. But if it's a case that you put it on her because you thought it was going to be a big change, and now you can save that for, Trench needs 3.
Yeah.
Riva needs 3. And it's all coming in April. I mean, coming back to, April is coming.
Yeah.
Maybe hold on to it and see where it goes from that side. So
yeah, it's going to be very interesting in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So that's a lot of updates.
That's a ton. On top of like the usual, Conquest is live, territory battles are live.
Yeah.
Tons to do.
So anything else on I don't think we got any other additional announcements or anything similar to that from over the past 2 weeks.
No.
Although I think the other thing to point out, and again, while we like to pick on folks at CG sometimes for maybe, what we get and what we don't, wanted to say thank you for actually giving us a list of the data discs.
Yes, that was
huge. That was new, and that was a big change. I thought they did a great, again, data dump of kind of handling everything that was coming in. So the new Conquest is live. But yeah, do we want to jump into, was that Big Moon, or do we want to talk about Conquest as Big Moon?
Ooh. We can do that as Big Moon.
Okay.
That's no moon. Big Moon.
Big Moon.
Same difference. Same difference.
I are not dyslexic.
No. Yeah, so I'm actually curious, because I've had a lot of people speak specifically about Conquest, that it seems harder than usual, and it seems grindier than usual.
Yeah.
Like, and people that have rosters larger than mine, and I'm at 9.2 now, that are saying it seems way harder to get to Red Crate this time around. And I'm curious if I'm just like blind to it because I'm so focused on how to get to Red Crate, if it actually is, because it doesn't seem any different to me than past ones. It does seem harder than the last one.
A little bit.
Grindier, I should say.
Yeah.
But that's been the case anytime we've had a ship as a reward and then we move to an actual character. Yeah. It always is grindier, quote unquote.
I had a bad morning this morning, but that was a me problem, I think, more than the Conquest. I think what kind of my view is, there are some tools and comps in Conquest that you just need to think about.
Absolutely.
Like it just needs to be there. Like I always forget about it. Like I saw the health steal, and I always forget about Palpatine can do it. I got all of the health steals in a single fight.
Right.
And but you look at that and you think it's so daunting. You're like, I don't know. Like if I just kind of set this up this way, I can make it happen. If you do not have a sortie team
Mm-hmm.
right now. You need to, again, you're 9 million plus. All
Mm-hmm.
right. You need to prioritize it only because of what sortie brings to the table in Conquest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's, no tanks, easy to do. No attackers, easy to do. Uh, I don't know what you're running for the 3PO and R2, but I'm doing an R2 lead with 3PO and sortie, and she just throws her cards up in the air with a couple of Zealous Ambition discs, and everybody dies.
Yeah, I'm just swapping out the leader for different GLs and
Yeah.
taking all 4 of those droids with, and I'm like, you're all
Yep.
coming along for the ride, and you're gonna die, and it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. So I think that you know a lot of it is just knowing and it's the same things that it seems like that's kind of over and over again. I now just start to save my Kenobi and Cat for
Mm-hmm.
when I run into a gas team that's going to cause me a problem, because I
Yep.
just know that I just go right past it.
Or even a
But
Padme team.
see, Padme is another character that I don't use her enough anymore, so I just never think about it from that side. Um, it's the 2 fights in with Jabba to remember, oh, no, I need to turn on auto basic
Right.
so that I get some of the blinds. Although you discovered some very interesting things today, or kind of brought some
Mm-hmm.
things to people's attention, which I think is going to make it a lot easier, especially in 3.
Yeah, and it's not a bug. And this is the thing, because I think a lot of people are worried that CG is going to fix this. It's not a bug. It's exactly how it's supposed to
Yeah.
work. And the Sector 3 mini boss, the modifier on it is that they gain this buff cornered, and Scarif Rebel Pathfinder will revive anytime he has
Yeah.
a buff, and he revives with that buff on him every single time because it's locked.
Yep.
So as long as you kill everyone else, you can get droid kills, you can get blind, you can get master's training done, and
Yep.
it's 10-minute battle. You're gonna time out. You're not gonna win because you can't kill him.
Yeah.
Um, but it's way easier to get these feats done
Yeah.
on that node, and you're also not worried about having to look for a particular enemy node because it's the mini boss. Everyone has it.
Yep.
So
Yeah. It's like there's some of these that I look at them like, so I got burned by that buff because I
right.
didn't read any of the pieces. So I got to the end and I'm like, oh, I have to back out of this. Like I don't know how, I can't get it off. So I was going to lose. And it's one of these, like, I kind of picture someone in CG's offices like I got you. Like, we
Right.
put this mechanic in, and I wanted to see if you're paying attention, and you weren't. And then when we flip it on, and I'm like, oh yeah, I actually just use this. They're like, oh, you got us. Like, I almost feel
Mm-hmm.
like they put those things in there, and then we explain them, and I want to think they're happy with what we did, because a lot of what Conquest is, and you've talked about this more than I have, is here's all these tools,
Mm-hmm.
go figure it out.
Right.
And the only times that they've ever that they fix something when it's clearly a bug, like there was a master's training bug, I think, where
You're getting
you were
like
getting 5 every
yeah.
time you used it. Like, that's a bug.
Yeah, exactly. And
But exploitation of mechanics is not a bug
no.
in this game mode.
No, not at all. And like you can get past it cuz that was another thing. People were like, "Well, how do I kill him?" I'm like, "Well, you need to use a character that prevents
Yeah.
revives, right? Like, so you want to take Supreme Leader Kylo. You want to take Bam because Whistling Birds he's not going to revive from. You want to
Yeah.
take Whirlwind from Rey, like anything like that where he's not annihilate with Nihilus, like
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And you can still get through it. It just takes a little bit of like sitting there. And I think part of the problem, and this is just in general, I think we try. I know I do this too. Is you try to rush through the sectors right as quickly
Yeah.
as you can to get all of those discs, and then go back and finish the feats, which leads to you like not reading the modifier,
Yeah.
not doing like just taking a breath. I even did this on the Sector 3 boss, which is Sauna. I was like, okay, how can I do this without rebels in the team?
Yep.
And I really wanted to not use a Galactic Legend. I really wanted to not for me, for like to
Yeah.
show a team that wasn't a Galactic Legend, essentially. And I was like, oh, Padme.
Yeah.
I sat there and I read the modifier a few times. I'm like, Padme will do this no problem. And I just made sure not to take C-3PO or R2 because sometimes I stick
Yep.
them there. And I was like, easy.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes you just have to kind of sit and look at it for a minute, which I think a lot of us are just like, go, 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 get it done. Get 3 or 6 refreshes in right away and plow through.
Yep. And look, there's the kit read piece of it. There's, I like the fact they don't seem to be changing up the discs for 6 months or so at a time. So you kind of start to understand the groupings. But like we were talking before the show started off, I'm actually struggling with I now have 2 torture characters, but I'm struggling getting the torture or getting tortured because I have so many zealous ambitions that they're actually killing the targets when they're applying the debuff, and the debuff comes in after the fact, so it hurts from some of that. But it's
that will hurt you for fracture as well, by the way.
Oh
because they're on
yeah.
support.
All right, I guess I'm gonna have to take it off. I think I'm skipping the fracture one.
Yeah.
But so I think understanding that Conquest kind of exists in this own little bubble where the rules don't follow the same in those cases. But I think last month was much easier. Like the Kenobi kills last month were terrible because you had to play that very specifically to maximize going through it. So like I play all of mine in the morning. It was adding an extra 20 to 25 minutes on my day for me to manage those pieces. So I stopped. Like I'm glad like those are out. Global feats, the fact that most people can probably build 2 Sith teams, so now I can get it done in 4 days instead of 8. The Geo and Separatists, again, remember Geos are Separatists. I can probably get 10 of those. I don't think it's that bad right now. Definitely not back to like the Resistance one. I mean, the Resistance, Conquest was pretty miserable.
Yeah, it was still fun.
Comparatively, it was miserable. Comparatively.
Yeah. No, so. I agree. Well, I'm like, that's the other thing is there's so many of these that carry over from the sector and globals.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I need to get target lock. That's fine. I need separatist wins. I need to get health steal. I got 15 in a battle using Palpatine. And then I was like, oh, I need to get 5 more. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll get that as I go through the sector because I'm gonna drag Grievous through here and he's gonna do it for me. It's things like that where you're like, oh yeah, this isn't as bad as it seems to be.
And to your point about rushing through, just stop. Like when you get to a section, look at the feats, and just like if you need to inflict target lock, Google SWGOH target lock, and you're going to go to the swgoh.gg page that talks about all the characters that are. Most of the time, you literally like, oh yeah, I completely forgot about that character's ability to do that.
Yeah. Well, even for me, like I completely forgot that Visas has health steal up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's an AoE. So I was like,
yeah.
Oh, and I'm so normally I do like a weird Palpatine Empire team and I drag Yoda along and I was like, I can just run Starkiller.
Yeah.
And make, instead of having a Jedi tank, I was like, I'll just take Yoda as the Jedi. And okay. And I got 15 in that because I killed the team too quickly. If it had gone longer, it would have been all 20 like you had. But I was like, oh yeah, that's totally forgot that she has
it. Yeah. So, and again, it's also a little bit harder because it's the first of 3. And absolutely. By the time we get to the one in the back one, it's gonna be super easy. So it's Conquest. I haven't figured out a good way to make it work, but I hate the fact that territory battles and conquest start at the same. In fact, they start within an hour of each other. That's the biggest problem, is that they start at the same time, and on that Monday you want to start getting energy out so you can start earning it back, and then you've got to get in, you got a platoon and all those things, and it's just yeah, it's a rough start to the month.
Yeah, it is.
The 28-day cycle, I guess.
It is. It's a lot to do in the first week of Conquest. So, yeah, like I haven't done any territory battles for today yet. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do those still.
Yeah.
Yikes. So yeah, but overall, I don't know. I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's Conquest. I mean, we'll figure it out. It's like I said, there's some tough ones in 4 and 5 that are going to take some time figuring out. Again, and I hadn't have a chance to. I've been traveling for the better part of the last 4 or 5 days. I told you I was worried about the Ewoks, and you're like, yeah, but just go get the booming voice, and all of a sudden that's probably going to fix a lot of those problems. So, I think that'll. Part of it is just figuring out the fix.
Yeah.
And then you just do it moving forward. So.
And and this one's always the quote unquote hardest, like you said, because it's the first.
Yeah.
After this one, we'll have everything figured out, and it will be perfectly fine.
Yep, absolutely.
Status quo as usual. Okay. Do you want to do the bantha in the room?
Yeah. I'm going to start, and look, asking for ship loadouts is nothing new.
I know.
But the scythe is out. It does counter the profundity. It does counter the executor. But the starting comps are different.
Right.
So now not only is it, do I need to remember the counter, like this is why we need loadouts. I need a loadout here because what I have to do is I have to go into my notes every time I have to use the other piece, and I have to rebuild it because we already talked about I'm getting old and I can't remember that long. Just give us that. That's one. The second, kudos to all the people that build tools within the community. But there are right things and there are wrong things.
Yes.
And things, you read them right to left or left to right. Most of us go left to right because that's the way that we read the English language. So when you send me your platoons, please send me dark side, neutral, light side, not light, dark, neutral. That's just wrong. I won't pick on the specific tool. We've already, I believe, reached out to them with a little bit of feedback on that, but left to right, folks.
Yeah.
Left to right.
Yeah. That is unfortunate. It'll be fine. It will go away. Eventually it won't be a problem. I hope. Maybe. I'm going to complain because I'm in the zone, so I've unlocked Jabba. He is waiting on one gear piece to go to gear 13. So
congratulations.
He'll be there tomorrow. Thank you. And I'm annoyed because I cannot, for the life of me, figure out why CG does not want my money. They don't want my money, and they don't want my crystals. And I still have not gotten a single one of those Jawa daily scavenger deals.
Yeah.
And everyone keeps talking. They're like, oh yeah, that's 3,200 crystals for the impulse. You get all this relic material. And I'm like, I know. I want it. I want to give you 3,200 crystals every time it comes up. I want to do it. I will do it. I will buy crystals and then give you them to buy. And it never shows up. And then I got all excited when I started the ticket farm for Jabba when it was done, which I started on Thursday. So it's been roughly a week. And I didn't have the $5 Galactic Legend ticket pack. And I was like, it's okay, because I was pretty close to max tickets, so I figured that was why. So I blew my tickets down. Bought them from the weekly store again, blew all of those down, waited for the day to refresh. No pack. Started farming tickets. No packs. It's been a week of me farming tickets. These packs have not showed up. I'm like, why can't I have these packs? Why? And everyone was like, oh, well, you can't have tickets because then it'll knock you over. So you have to be like far away from the max. I'm like, I have 7. I have 7
Yeah.
tickets.
Well, 6 is the magic number.
Like, oh, man.
So a quick, as you're telling that story, it reminded me of something. So after Christmas, family went out to go run errands, and my son wanted to get a soccer jersey at Dick's, and he's 12, like he knows better. He literally walks into Dick's and he puts his hands into his pockets, and just like money starts falling out. It's like Christmas money, and it's all over the place. And I'm just like, we bought you a wallet, and so I'm picturing you doing the same thing. Like you're walking up to CG and crystals are falling out of your pockets, and you're just like, what can I get for this many? And you just kind of drop it in front of them from that side. So
help me help you. Like, it's just, I feel like I'm gonna finish the ultimate farm, which I have not started yet because I don't want to do it until he's relic.
Yeah.
So that'll be sometime tomorrow. But I feel like I will finish it and never have seen those packs. And now I'm not inclined to buy it if I do see it, because I'm like, I'm not gonna rush it. $5. I wanted to rush the unlock. I didn't want to rush.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. They just don't want my money.
They don't. Which is surprising.
Like, I have to give you more of it.
I'm yet to see the Jawas as well.
Man.
In fact, I have turned on notifications, which I absolutely hate, thinking that might be the reason why. So yeah, I don't know. And it's not alphabetical, because CeliacSarah would be at the top of the list and Pico Burrito would be at the bottom. And neither one of us have seen it yet, so I don't get it.
And it has nothing to do with like geography or how much you spend or any of those things. So
you'd think you'd want to put that in front of your spenders as quickly as possible, because they spend. So
right,
but that's not even it.
Right. Man. All right, it's fine. We can be positive, I guess.
We can. So you know what? I'm going to read one of these bumpers. I've never actually read one before.
Ooh, do it.
I need to practice for when I'm flying solo, which I've got to figure that out. I know you've got a lot of things you need to prepare for in March. I got to figure out how I'm going to run HNN.
You got like
without you
7-ish weeks.
All right, so I love you, I know, which brings us to our love you or I love you, I know segment. That is an easy to get jaded in this game, but there has to be a reason why we're still playing this game after nearly 7 years. I think that number is right. So each show, we'll talk about the things that we've enjoyed over the past week in Galaxy of Heroes. So where do we want to start? Where do you want to start? What do you love this week?
I love that I unlocked Jabba, and I feel like I did
Congratulations, I'm going to say it again.
I feel like I did it roughly when I said I was going to, even with taking like a brief detour to rush my Inquisitors.
I was thinking about this the other day when I was listening to the show and listening to you guys kind of talk about farming your Galactic Legends. It always seemed like that conversation bridged seasons.
Right.
Like I started listening to it, shoveling the snow, and I ended, you finally finished it while I was cutting grass in the summer. This feels like a month.
Okay, so I actually went and was looking into this because I was like, I was on the Lord Vader farm before I was on Jabba.
Yep.
And November 20th, I was messaging a guildmate. November 20th. And I said to them, I am farming Lord Vader. So I hadn't even pivoted to Jabba yet as of November 20th. And I pivoted to Jabba before I pivoted to Inquisitors.
Yep.
And then went back to Jabba. So I pivoted to, it must have been either the very, very, very end of November, beginning of December that I pivoted to rush them. Got them ready, got Grand Inquisitor, and then um, went back to Jabba and finished. Like it was last week on whatever day Thursday was.
Hearing you say that, to me, I think absolutely reinforces the idea the gear changes worked.
You know what? My garbage toon, not to spoil later on what I'm working on, but my garbage toon for sorry, garbage is what we call our platoon assignments
Yeah.
for territory battles. The one that I am taking up, I'm taking up Night Sister Initiate, and she was gear 8 or 9 this morning, and she's now gear 12.
Yeah.
Like she needed one piece of gear, and I got it, and I was like, okay. And it was an accelerated piece, and I equipped it, and then I just kept hitting the upgrade button, and then she was gear 12. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think the gear changes worked. I just hope we get to see the stuff for 12 sooner rather than later.
Yes.
So,
and I will say, like, when I was working on Jabba, getting all of those characters up to year 12 was so breezy. Like,
yeah,
it was fun. That was where I got stuck, was the gear 12. I was like, okay, I've now hit the wall that was slowing me down.
And what's funny about that is, the narrative when they first came out, everyone talking about, at least Skip Guard Lando, about all of the resources that he needed to get to 12. Like, so even with everything that he needed, and I know it was a heavy investment in Kairos, but still people seem to be kind of breezing through that. And again, especially a lot of people are in the same boat that you are, is that it was the Inquisitors into Java, and we're starting to see them really just come online really, really quickly. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what have you loved this last week?
So I want to give a huge shout out to Solo Base from Gambit Podcast, because he said this a week ago, and it was like one of those light bulb moments. And he was talking about farming data cache, and it's just miserable.
Right. Okay. Like in Conquest farming it.
In Conquest, like just sitting there and just you're watching TV and you're burning through energy. And he said, and there is a pack in the store that you can buy data cache with, and it costs crystals. And he said, I just sat down and figured out, like, I have 7 days left. I spend X amount of crystals every day refreshing that I'm just trying to get data cache. So I'm just going to use that and buy the packs to get the data cache. He's like, I'm going to spend the same amount of crystals. I'm just going to save myself the time of actually having to burn through it going this other direction. I'm like, that's ingenious.
That's so smart.
That is such a great idea. So it's like, if you're gonna burn 3 refreshes a day, 150 crystals, we'll say that it costs 450. You buy one pack, and that's 3 days worth of refreshes. So you buy 2 of the packs, and then you can just stop conquesting.
Yeah, because now you're good. You've got your data cache, and if you really wanted to, you could use just the natural regenerated energy.
Yeah. So I heard that, and I was like, man, it was an eye opening. I'm gonna do it. Like, when I get to that point, I'm just, the problem is the pack ends at day 7, so I'm gonna have to figure out some math, especially if I'm not done at that point. But I just thought that was a great idea, and yeah, I mean, it's I am all about saving the time, and I thought that was a great option. So
right,
but
that, yeah, I mean, and then you don't have to worry. It would almost be great. Man, I'm trying to figure out how you could make that work for you during the first week of Conquest when you have territory battles happening.
I don't think you can, because you actually, like, you can't accelerate it on that side unless you wanted, because I think it's too much of a gamble to try and do it up front and then finish Conquest on the backside type thing. Yeah. Like, for me, it's more like the way that I play in the morning, and I try to get a bunch of it done before I go to the gym, and then I'm actually in between sets at the gym, I'm starting up battles that way. This way, I don't have to have people looking at me funny, like, why does that guy keep running over to his phone every every 35 seconds to go do something for 15 seconds and run away. So
Yeah.
yeah.
um yeah, that's fantastic. uh
So Zaris just jumped in and said it looks like a live recording of Crate. I'm
yes.
sorry, but uh, the male host is much more attractive in this version than on Crate. So if he's
Sorry. It's this cough.
I know, yeah. You were laughing because it was so accurate, right? That's what you're really trying to do right there. So
We can change the show name to Crate, and we can just spell it how
yeah,
Meathead spells his answers,
yeah.
and call it a day. um I did not see any Discord questions, and
I did not either.
I've been skimming chat, and I didn't see many.
I did not either. Um, I saw a couple of questions, but it seemed like it was questions for the audience
Mm-hmm.
that they worked out on their own. Um, just giving you a hard time, Sarah.
Totally fine.
So, yeah. I don't believe we've seen enough change. I don't think we've actually had Profundity come back since we did this last
No.
time, so we shouldn't have seen a change there. So do we want to head to the moisture farm?
Yeah. Talk about
All right.
all that fun stuff.
So tell me about your garbage.
Oh my gosh, my garbage. So, okay. Actually, I'm actually in a dilemma now. So, first of all, I was supposed to do Mandalorian first to Relic 8.
Okay.
And then one of our guildmates, Master Luke, took it off my hands because I was like, it was the last character we needed to finish a platoon.
Yeah.
And I really needed to go gung ho on Jabba. So he's like, I'll
Yep.
do it, and then you can take something else, and finish Jabba. So that was super awesome of him. And then I ended up picking up Night Sister Initiate, which was already claimed, but it wasn't done. And it was by someone who claimed 2 toons, so he had finished the
Okay.
first already. And I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I haven't done mine yet, so I'll do your second, and we'll call it good. So I now have to take my Night Sister Initiate to Relic 8, which is laughable because if you could see, I mean, anyone can go look at my roster. You can see my Inquisitors, my Night Sisters. Only Asajj and Daka are relicked. Like, the rest of them are lucky if they are gear 12. So Initiate is now gear 12. She needs several pieces, and I'm gonna farm the ones that she needs from the dark side nodes because I'm farming Jabba tickets. But so my question is, I'm gonna do her first.
Yep.
Just to get her done for platoons. Do I go straight to Lord Vader now? That's my last GL. Do I finish, like, I'm toying with the idea of taking my Sith Triumvirate to relics because they're gear 12. Yeah. So do I do them real quickly? But I mean, it's gear 12, so it's not going to be that quick because the 12 to 13 jump is painful. Lord Vader is the last GL. Also keeping in mind I need to hoard gear for Reva and Trench in April.
But all the shards are there for Vader, right?
I have all of the shards for Vader. The only characters I do not have at 7-star right now are the murder droids and Sauna.
So I feel like you need to go the Vader path just to get the Galactic Legend out of the way.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. But then I'm like, is it gonna take longer? I don't know what to do because I'm like, do I hoard the gear for Reva and Trench now? Like, get their gear hoarded and then start adding in the Vader characters? I just don't know what to do.
So, well, So you were able to get Jabba in 2 months, and that was with shard farming.
That was farming 3 marquees, yeah.
So can you get yourself in a situation that 6 weeks to get Jabba or to get Vader unlocked, or your ticket farming maybe for Vader,
Mm-hmm.
and as your ticket farming, then use that to get Reva and Trench.
Right, to get their gear up.
Yeah, because it's back to, you know, we talk about this all the time. Shards are the hardest thing to come by.
Yes.
So if you can get the shards to Vader, even if you've got Vader at your ticket farming to start generating shards at that point, even if it takes you another 6 weeks to get through Lord Vader, just because you've got to do some on the light side, you've got to do some on the dark side. You can't blow all of your energy off in that direction. It feels like getting Vader to the point that you can start collecting tickets probably makes more sense than putting him on the back burner again, because my big fear would be, so Vader, you don't kick into Vader until May,
Yeah.
and they announce a new Galactic Legend.
Right? And then I'm going to backburn Vader again.
Yeah.
Poor Vader has been like tossed aside.
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 times by me.
So, and the big curveball in all of this right now is we're getting a conquest level character outside of a conquest cycle.
Yes.
So
this is like the quote unquote first world problem for us, because we are in a guild where we're pulling in enough shards that we will get Reva very quickly. Yeah, and she's gonna be good.
In all fairness, again, this is a little bit more inside baseball for old dirty blasters, but technically Trench isn't due until May.
Right.
Because it's the 4th conquest after their release is really when we want to have everyone. So even if you had to stagger them at a certain point, but and I haven't looked at Trench's gear, but I feel like you've at least got to get to the ticket farm on Vader.
Yeah.
So that while you're working on other things, you can at least passively be bringing them in.
I really gotta hit the raids more too.
I missed it I looked at it 7:55. I'm like, I need to jump on the raid in 5 minutes, and then 25 minutes later, I'm like, missed the raid.
I'm pretty sure I was sleeping. So, what are you working on though? That's enough about my garbage.
So, I added 4 garbage characters in the last 2 weeks because I had 3 of them at R7 already. For reasons. So, and they are garbage. It was Aura, Poggle, Jedi Counselor, and Night Sister Initiate.
Yeah.
And I was in the same boat as you. Like, we needed, like, hey, if we had this character, we could do another platoon. I just don't read those messages anymore. Like, I just have to stop.
You legit, okay. And I'm gonna put this on the record because, one, I don't want people to think that I'm like, hey, you're a relic level away.
Yeah.
And like, you legitimately need to stop, because you could only take 10 I'm going to say 10 units, because it counts ships as well per zone from a player for platoons. And we're already pulling so much from you, because you do have a bunch of these characters at high relics, that when you're like, I'm going to do this, I'm like, please don't, because now I have to figure out what I can take away from you and who I can give it to.
Yeah. I have to rebuild all of the platoon templates now, so please stop doing that. So
but and to be fair, like you've offered to do it, and there are a couple others in our guild who have also offered to be like super helpful, and I love it. I love the team mentality. And at the same time, I'm like, I really just want everyone to take one. Just take one for the team.
And also at the same, people have reached out to me and like, hey, you're putting a lot there. Is there something I can take from you?
Yeah.
So that to free things back up the other side. So it's more when all you have to spend your energy on is relic stuff.
Yeah.
It's easier to relic characters.
Totally.
Like that's where it sits. So those 4 In the New 52 project, Darth Talon was kind of the last R7 that I took up. I think I looked this. I'm actually technically I'm on my plan to get one per week. I'm actually current as of February 6th, so I'm a little ahead of the pace right now. And then on top of that, I got my last Relic 6 character to 7,
Ooh,
which was young Lando, because Relic 6 is a broken relic. I hate that. That's a bad place to stop.
it is.
So yeah, so that's where it's at. And now I think I'm gonna focus on Relic 7, the Wookiees,
Hmm.
because I want to do the Wookiee event on Kashyyyk. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to do the Wookiee event too, just to say I can do it. And then I
Yeah.
look at my Wookiees and like, you guys just no, we'll have to wait a long
But
time.
I spent a little bit of time last week trying to figure out a plan to get Phoenix to R8, because I want to do the Phoenix mission.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to build them mod sets and everything. It's just like, you can't polish that turd. There's just no way to do it.
Not yet.
I mean, to get Ezra to slightly above average speed, he's got to get like 150 speed on him, and I'm just not doing that.
Yeah, no,
I'm not putting 150 speed on Ezra.
no. Um. Okay, so I wanted to point out a couple of questions that
Yep.
did float in while we were chatting. So Ryan Blue Thunder was asking, he's got all of the Galactic Legends, all of the
Okay.
legendary characters, and the
Okay.
ships. Does he really need to finish his Resistance fleet and Scimitar, TIE Reaper, Gauntlet, and Sith Fighter ships? So finish farming them. I assume
Ooh.
they're not 7-star.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
Yep. Because
Especially
all yeah,
ships.
go ahead.
Ships never accelerate. By the way.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, and honestly, if let's use an example, Zori Bliss's ship comes into the game
Mhm.
and it changes Holdo's ship enough that she becomes a really great counter. Like we took the Chimera, which was a really great fleet. We added one ship to it, and all of a sudden, it became this phenomenal counter ship that we could do things with.
Right.
You don't want to be behind the curve in that case.
So, and like just to use my own, like what I was saying earlier, where I was on Lord Vader and then I went to Jabba and then I went to
Yeah.
Inquisitors. The reason why I got the Inquisitors ready in such a short amount of time is because I was already done their character shard
Yeah.
farms.
Yep.
And that's like being able to turn like that, which I mean, I don't recommend pivoting, but being able to pivot like that if you have to,
Yeah.
especially like if you already have the shards, you're laughing.
Yeah.
That that's the worst part.
And yeah, and the other, you've got this 7-day chase coming up next week. You need ships.
Yep.
Hey, that seems like a great use of energy right there to start farming the next ship that you're going to need to kind of move things forward. So absolutely, yeah,
absolutely. And then I saw the questions. There it is. Lion's Den. Do the platoons really help for Return of the Empire for the territory battle?
Yes.
Yes, massively, massively, massively. Huge
I
help.
yesterday on Geonosis, I did not get out of the first wave with the Geo fight.
Right.
And today we did not fill any platoons. Today I 2 for 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, forget the points that it puts in. It makes an impact on the combat missions. So
yeah. And then the combat missions, because of how this territory battle is mapped out, in terms of you can deploy ships and characters to the same zone, everything, especially if you're in a guild that is staggering their advancement through territory battles like we are, everything trickles over. So yesterday we finished at the end of phase 2. We preloaded Geonosis, so we didn't get the 1-star there. We had 11 million more points in our preload than what I was anticipating for. Those 11 million points today are now going to trickle over into our preload in Tatooine, which will trickle over into our preload the next phase in the light sides. It all trickles, and now we're most likely going to pick up 2 stars instead of 1.
Yep. Yeah.
So anything that gives you that kind of effect, take it and run.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Ryan, follow-up question. Prioritize the ships or relic up Ewoks?
Ships. Yeah.
I assume your Ewoks are farmed.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you need them for platoons.
Right.
No one needs Ewoks.
Until Galactic Legend Leia comes in.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, ships. Just do them. They're good. Yeah. So I think we did it.
We did. We're getting really good at this because we didn't go much. I mean, there was a lot in this one, and we didn't go much longer than we normally do. Like I think we're becoming competent.
we're becoming concise. We're
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, any other thoughts? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the only other thing that I saw today is it looks like CG loaded in Galactic Challenges and store updates for the next 2 weeks or so in the data mine.
Okay.
So we probably won't see a major update for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yep. The other piece, and I haven't looked at it. I'm gonna direct some people maybe to go poke around at the SWGOH events server because there might be a character name floating out there.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah,
I would say go watch some Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
We'll see. That would be pretty exciting if it happens. So maybe we'll be talking about that in 2 weeks.
Man, that would be wild, especially with the login character. I don't know if you saw for February. It's
Tusken Shaman. And what was the backup character?
I did not see that actually. If somebody knows and wants to tell me.
It's in and I saw this and we actually didn't talk about this. CeliacSarah is farmer role as well on low energy cantina. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's on 2C, I believe. It's an 8 energy node, which I will say for reference, when I farmed Hondo, I did it in 8 days with 3 refreshes a day. So I fully expect to farm her in relatively the same amount of time.
All right, so I saw Tusken Shaman for daily logging character, and I don't see the second. I don't remember where I read that. So, but I swore I saw that it was another Tusken.
Would that be the first month, if it is another Tusken, that they've made the characters from the same?
Yes, that would be.
Whatchamacallit? Faction.
Awesome.
Zymer is saying Droidica.
Yep. Yeah, now that you say that, I sometimes I like to make up stories.
I mean, both of them are just going to be shard shop currency.
Yeah. Yep.
Realistically. Man.
But I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Time for everyone to go to sleep.
Yeah. I need to refill my tea. Okay. Well, thank you for doing the majority of the heavy lifting. Appreciate it.
What? I was willing to talk? That's unlike me by any way whatsoever.
And thanks everybody for joining us and my gravelly ass voice. That ought to do it until next time. Chewie, we're home.